hire people for life that's going to look out after you. And I thought, yeah, some family this turned out to be. You know, who wants a family like that? With Ma Barker and her boys, you know. I said, I don't know. So I'm sitting there, you know, and I'm going, this is absolutely crazy. This is absolutely nuts, you know, and stuff. And I'm sitting there worried. I thought, I said, what's going on here? I got the blacks after me. I got the Jews after me. I got the Mexicans after me. Now I got the Nazis and the skinheads and some of the Klan, you know, and stuff. And I'm going, this is nuts. So finally I turned in my resignation. I said, who needs it? I don't need this. And I resigned. Well, sorry about that. Don't have that phone turned off. And, so, we're always telling people turn off the phones, and, well, you know. But anyway, so anyway, I sit there and I go, you know, I'm now an island. I'm a man by myself. Didn't know where I was going to turn, what I was going to do. And finally, you know, my whole life just seemed to be in turmoil. And finally, I found myself broke. Found myself destitute. There's a lot more to the story, but for time's sake this morning, I finally ended up in the gutter. I found myself in the low of the lows. I found myself with no friends. I found myself with no job. I found myself with no money. I found myself looking at an eviction notice. I found myself playing hide the car from the repo man. Anybody ever been there before? You know? I found myself with a couple of cans of pork and beans up in the cupboard. I found myself looking at life, and they're fixing to shut off the electricity, they're fixing to shut off the phone, I'm fixing to be forcibly evicted, and I go, how in the world did this happen? I said, well, just a few months ago, I was speaking at Klan rallies, I was being picked up in limos to go do the Oprah Winfrey show. I'm a powerful individual, I got all these people, yes sir, and now it's all gone just like that, and I ain't got a friend in the world, and I'm broke. I mean, I was really broke. If a burglar broke in my house, I robbed him. Anybody ever been there? So all of a sudden, you know, I mean, my life was just absolutely in turmoil. And I sit there and I go, you know, I can't handle this. My life's just, you know, I'm not going to live like this. And I realized at any given moment I was going to be on the street, sleeping underneath park benches or hopping a freight train and eating hobo stew, you know, with Freddie the Freeloader or something, you know, and all that stuff. And I said, this isn't going to happen. I can't go this route. And so I thought about my daddy killing himself with a gun. And so the thoughts of suicide came to my mind. And so I decided to end my life. But there was the Bible, and it was sitting there on the table. And I was looking at the Bible, and I thought, man, it's been a long time. Too late now for no Bible, though. I promised God I would serve Him years ago, and I turned my back on God. How could God forgive somebody like me? And I picked up that Bible, and it fell open to Luke chapter 15, and I started reading the story of a prodigal son. Amen. And when I read that story, I read about a young man who also walked away from his father, and he was out there enjoying the party life, and wine, women, and song, and power, and money. But when his money was gone, his friends was gone. And he found himself in the pig pen with a bunch of pigs. And it was only then that he came to his senses. And then he realized how good he had it in his daddy's home. Amen. And he said, man, he goes, at least when I was with my dad, I had food. I had a roof over my head and food. I'm going to be maybe my dad will hire me as a hired hand. I'll be fed every day. I'm no longer worth it to be my dad's son. And he began his journey back home, ragged, dirty, and filthy, and nothing to his name. And that's the way I felt. And when he came down that road, his father ran up to him and grabbed him. Didn't care that he smelled like pigs. He embraced him. Yeah. He welcomed him back home. And he said, this son of mine was dead, but now he's alive and alive. I read that. Finally, I got on my knees. And I said, that's it. Now I got it. I said, God, I need your help. And I hit my knees. I said, God, I don't know where my next meal's coming. I said, I can't live like this, God. I don't want to take this gun and end my life like my daddy did, but I've got nowhere else to turn to. God, help me. I promise you, I'll straighten up, I'll go to church, but I need help. The very next morning, the phone rang, and that was a miracle. They were supposed to shut the phone off. And the phone rang, I picked it up. I almost didn't because I thought it was a bill collector again. And I picked up the phone, and the guy offered me a job at a car dealership. I had just enough gas in the vehicle to get down there. I showed up that day, I sold 2 cars, walked out of that place with $700 in my pocket. I knew good and well then He heard my prayer.
Amen.
And I said, I made a deal with you. I said, if you help me, I'll help you. How many people say, God, I'll do this, you'll only do this, and He does it, and then they forget all about it. I'll get around to it next year, God. Not me. I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to keep my word to Him.
Amen.
He came through for me, I'm coming through for Him. So one thing He said about me, I keep my word to folks. And so I said, I'm going to church. So I walked into this church, and there was red, yellow, black, white, and brown people in there. They went in their own separate sections. They were all standing there worshiping together, and I turned around and I was going to leave. Because you know what? You don't say one prayer after being hateful all your life and then jump up and say, well, I love everybody. I've said this prayer, I'm not prejudiced anymore. I'm going to call up Stevie Wonder and Lionel Richie and sing We Are the World with them. That's not what happened. I was turning around and I said, I'm out of here. I ain't staying here with all these different races. Then all of a sudden I stopped and I remembered something. Where did that way of thinking, where did the Ku Klux Klan way of thinking get me? Why don't I sit down and listen to what the preacher had to say? Thousands of people in that church, the preacher points right up at me and he goes, you know what you've got to do. And I went down to the altar. I was the first one at the altar. I got down the altar and I said, God, that's it. I'm serving you for the rest of my life. 22 years ago, I've never turned my back on God.
Praise the Lord.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you today that God changes people. It took a while. I began to study, but you know what? How fast will He change someone? According to what you're willing to put into God. See, some people, I remember when my brother got saved. My brother, he got saved, and I want to tell you, he knew, he was calling me up 1 year later. He knew more about the Bible than most Christians I know that have been around for 20 years. And it was, how does your brother learn so much so fast? And because he was studying. He quit listening to all this outside worldly junk and he started filling his mind full of things of God. It's what you put into God is to determine what you're going to get out of God. And I began to put into God. I want to tell you something. Things began to change in my life. Now, like I said, I got caught up in that word faith and blab it and grab it for several years and things like that. But you know what? My whole life changed when I started. And something happened too with Jimmy Swaggart. When I was in the Klan, I'd go out to a bar on a Saturday night and I'd be drunker than a skunk. Come home the next morning and I'd have a hangover and I'd turn on the TV and I still watched Brother Swaggart. And I was taping. That's when I first got, this shows you how long ago it was. I had my first VCR. They'd just come out and I was taping with the old tapes, you know. Nobody does that before. But I'm sitting there and I'm taping it, you know, and I'm taping Brother Swaggart and I'm keeping all these tapes and everything. Well, when I got saved, I got out those tapes and I started watching those tapes, you know. I'd kept them all them years, and I started watching them and listening. And over the years, I never quit listening, even though I'd hear all the blab it, grab it bunch and all that stuff, you know, I couldn't get Pastor Swaggart out of my mind. But I want to tell you something, just in the last year or two that I've been associated with the Swaggart ministry, I've learned more in those years than I think I have in the whole 20-some-odd years I've been a Christian.